Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to this week's rundown of 3 F1 news stories that have caught my eye over the last few days. First up, and Jos Verstappen has rubbish claims made by Helmut Marko last week in which he stated Toto Wolff was in regular contact with Max Verstappen. Now, of course, the Dutchman's Red Bull contract runs out at the end of 2020, and with question marks lingering over the team's new partnership with Honda, and indeed the performance clause in Max's contract, there has been a fair bit of speculation over his long-term future. So what did Helmut Marko actually say? Well, in an interview with Auto Bild, he stated, "There is certainly a performance clause in Max's contract. Toto Wolff regularly calls him and his father Jos. I am relaxed about it. He feels good with us, and if we give him World Championship material, I will not worry that he will stay." However, Jos Verstappen has since brushed Marko's statements aside, describing them as nonsense, and that the Verstappen camp are happy with how things currently are at Red Bull. That's nonsense. Toto never calls Max. I don't even think he has his number. I occasionally speak to Toto, but that makes sense. We are very satisfied with Red Bull and with the cooperation with Honda. We are working together to make a dream come true. So basically, long story short, Helmut Marko is once again stirring the pot. What a surprise, I guess. Okay, Jos has said it's rubbish, but there is nothing unusual about team bosses talking to drivers or their management, really. It's a nothing story, and perhaps Marko is just trying to motivate the team in his own unique way. You know, the kind of look what we could lose if the car isn't good enough kind of statement, maybe. However, having said all of that, I've still featured it in this video because although the story doesn't have an awful lot of traction, as a talking point, it certainly does. There has been a lot of speculation lately over the short-term future of Valtteri Bottas and indeed the long-term future of Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. Now, I don't believe for a second that Merc will bring Max in as a replacement for Bottas. Absolutely no way. Hamilton and Verstappen has the potential to be explosive, and I cannot see them wanting that within the team again. However, in my view, Max could well be the best candidate to take Hamilton's seat should he choose to retire at the end of 2020. Well, the best candidate for now anyway. Who knows how things will look in a couple of years' time. But Max is quick, he's young and still has plenty of potential and room to grow. He would be a driver for the team to build things around long term, and that might be the way they look. I suppose obvious statement alert, you know what I'm like? It all comes down to what shape Red Bull are in. If, and it's a big if, they are title challengers this year or next, he may well be quite happy to stay where he is. However, if they are in that no man's land, if you like, that is third place again, how long is he going to stick around? He's ambitious and desperate to succeed, and third just won't be enough for him. I really doubt that Ferrari will take him if Leclerc delivers, and I can't see another team as a realistic option. So it may well be a case of having to choose between Red Bull and Mercedes. If it all came down to that though, and Red Bull don't give Max a title challenging car, he'll move to a team that can. It really is as simple as that. And do you know, that in turn would leave Merc with a very tough call to make. Who do they partner him with? Esteban Ocon is probably a no. They've got history that goes back a lot further than their contact in Brazil last year, and that could get very messy very quickly. Therefore, I guess you'd have to say that George Russell would be a good shout. But I'll concede that is pure speculation, and as I've already said, we don't know how things will look a little bit further down the line. There's a lot of young talent out there. It could then also lead to Red Bull having to change their approach to how they sign drivers. Gasly, Kvyat, Albon, Ticktum, are any of them really good enough to replace Verstappen? As of right now, I'd say no. So that could leave them having to look away from their junior programme. Do you see what I mean when I say there are so many ifs and buts should a move like this happen? And to be quite frank, I could make a video on this story alone. So much to discuss, so much to speculate on, and there will be a lot of differing opinions out there. Perhaps this is one to explore during a future live stream or something similar. To wrap it up though, Marko is once again stirring up the pot. Jos is obviously going to say it's nonsense, but Max Verstappen to Mercedes is a move I can see happening when Lewis Hamilton moves on. Next up, and George Russell has insisted that driving for Williams is not going to damage his F1 career, and that's despite the team's current struggles. Williams have had a tough start to 2019 with the car being cut considerably adrift from the field in the opening 2 races, but Russell believes that Mercedes will understand and look beyond the limitations a car imposes on him. Nobody realises in the outside world, but the people who will make a difference to my career moving forward, they know exactly how my performance is and they are keeping a close eye on that. They are pleased with that and that's great for me. My aspirations are to get the team further up the grid and make the most of sessions that are a bit trickier, maybe mixed conditions, and prove what I can do behind the wheel. The guys here, the guys at Mercedes, they know exactly how I'm performing. It is quite difficult in Formula 1 from an outside perspective, the fans or the people watching on TV, to fully understand if that driver is doing a good job or not. The people who need to know exactly how I'm performing. I don't think it's an unreasonable statement to say that it's going to be a very tough season for both George Russell and his teammate Robert Kubica, and although the arrival of Patrick Head should whip a few people into shape, if anybody's going to do it, he will, I still can't see things getting much better anytime soon. On Russell though, I think he's had a good start to the season. He is 2-0 up on Kubica in both qualifying and races, and as fans looking in, that really is the only way we can judge how they're doing. Long way still to go, of course. A bit of an odd tangent to head off on to end this part, but I do find it staggering that the current F2 champion, who by the way was excellent last year, has found himself in the worst car on the grid. Yet Lando Norris and Alex Albon seem to have decent cars underneath them. I guess that's typical of F1. But long term, with those Mercedes ties, Russell could actually be the one sitting quite pretty at the moment. That being said though, I'm fairly sure a similar sentiment was thrown around when discussing Pascal Wehrlein and Esteban Ocon. And finally, Haas boss Guenther Steiner has said that the team's critics would not be as vocal about their agreement with Ferrari if they were trundling around at the back of the grid. Haas entered Formula 1 back in 2016 and have made their way up the grid to become challengers for the title of Best of the Rest, finishing 5th last year and demonstrating strong pace so far in 2019. But over the last year or so, teams including Williams, McLaren and Renault have all been openly critical of Haas's deal with Ferrari, but Steiner believes that is only because his team are now a threat to them. Nobody would care if we were at the bottom, everybody would be happy. That's what everyone was expecting. That's where they thought we would be when we got into Formula 1. It's developed over the years with people getting more critical. It goes hand in hand with our classifications. After a while you get used to it, you live with it and don't care. It's normally the people that cannot understand why we are doing such a good job. They just say we are copying Ferrari. There are clearly written rules what you can and can't do, and we do everything to the rule book. I don't really care if they have a bad opinion about us. I did a video almost exactly a year ago defending Haas and have stood by that ever since. Guenther Steiner is absolutely spot on. If they were last, nobody would give a damn. It's all just teams who are underachieving, pointing the finger and deflecting attention away from their own underperformance. Haas are operating within the rules and I don't see an issue. In fact, I applaud the way in which they entered Formula 1. We saw with the likes of HRT, Cater and Manor that new teams will struggle to survive and compete in the sport. And actually look at what happened to Force India last year. Haas saw an opportunity and grabbed it with both hands. No issues whatsoever for me. I mean, looking at it from the other side, if Liberty and the FIA can sort it so that revenue distribution is fairer and the costs associated with the sport can be controlled, maybe the whole customer team, B team thing can be addressed then. But I just don't think that this is really an issue and it's been around in the sport for a very, very long time. Okay, Haas aren't seen as a proper constructor in the eyes of teams like Williams, but look where being a proper constructor has got them. As I've already said, these teams that are quick to jump into the press with their criticism need to work on their own shortcomings rather than just trying to shift the focus. That is almost it for this week's rundown then, but there is just time for the question of the week. I think you can probably see where this one's going to go. Do you think Max Verstappen will replace Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes once the Brit decides to call it a day? You can let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below or have your say by voting on the poll, which you can find behind the I at the top of the screen. Now, once again, it is race week, so I will be back over the course of the weekend with the usual mix of previews, watch-alongs and reviews. But in the meantime, you can follow me over on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and, of course, to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.